Welcome, listeners far and wide, from the Arctic Circle to Columbus Circle. I'm Eric Giselson, Associate Broker and Team Leader of the Excelsior team at Brown Harris Stevens, Master Certified Negotiation Expert and Instructor, founder of Archway Partners Coaching, and your host of Shear Line Negotiation Mastery, the podcast bound and determined to reclaim and restore the good name of negotiation and unlock the door to value creation, win-win solutions, and the true power of integrative negotiations. Now, do you ever wonder why some people walk into a negotiation and walk out with a win for their client, while others slog through, get defensive, burn out, or settle for less? It's often a similar market, similar variables, similar comps, and the same power balance, and yet the outcome for the client is dramatically different. So what's their secret? And how do these better outcomes lead to future wins, future business, increased trust with clients, colleagues, and co-brokers, and increased self-confidence and self-efficacy? Well, it turns out there's a lot more to successful negotiation than spreadsheets, a forceful personality, artificial urgency, or a clever closing line. Research continues to point towards something far more subtle and significantly more powerful: emotional intelligence, mindset, and wellness. According to research from the program on negotiation at Harvard Law School, the ability to read your own emotions, sense those of your counterpart, and regulate your internal state shows up at the bargaining table in meaningful and measurable ways. The traits that distinguish high-performing negotiators are not simply intellect and experience. Emotional awareness plays a central role. It allows you to sense impatience in yourself, recognize tension in someone else, and use those signals to shape your approach. Emotional steadiness makes it easier to remain calm when circumstances feel volatile, and helps you listen more deeply, ask better questions, and remain strategic when others become reactive or impulsive. These skills often increase cooperation, uncover greater value, and lead to deals where both parties feel heard, respected, and fairly represented. And here's what makes it even more compelling: wellness. Wellness supports presence. In fact, practicing wellness is essential to your presence and ability to stay curious in the moment. And clients feel safer and more trusting when the agent is present and engaged. That sense of psychological safety elevates decision-making and makes your guidance easier to follow. Today's episode is about exactly that: how mindset and wellness, along with mental clarity, emotional awareness, and calm confidence, create genuine competitive advantage. And I have the industry's perfect representative on this subject. Our guest today is someone who brings heart, strategy, and contagious positive energy to everything she does. Sara Rotter is a sales director here at Brown Harris Stevens, as well as a certified business coach, where she supports agents at every stage of their career with one-on-one coaching, collaborative learning, and a focus on empathy and growth. A proud New York City native, she discovered real estate while at pre-med at Harvard, and she turned that twist of fate into a calling, helping others build meaningful, successful careers. At a young age, Sara was already a coach at heart, tutoring children with learning differences, teaching swim, CPR, and strength training. She also is a respected educator industry-wide and a devoted supporter of community and animal welfare causes. Please welcome a leader who truly aspires to elevate everyone around her, Sara Rotter.
Thank you so much, Eric.
I'm so glad to have you on the
I'm
podcast.
so honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You know, we were talking about this before the show, but you've been mentioned on this podcast. You've already been on this podcast a few times because other guests have brought in things that you've taught them or sayings that you have to integrate that into the negotiation topics that we've talked about. So I'm thrilled to have you here to talk about this specific topic because it is so much at the core of what you do for all of us within our office, but in the industry as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's almost 10 years exactly to the day that I met you.
It's amazing.
So which is
Yeah, it's, the minute I met you, I saw such a special spark of just like the most genuine, kind person, but paired with brilliance. You talk about mentoring, agents in our industry. You're a leader on this topic and so many others. You've educated all of us, myself included. So I'm honored to be here with you. Thank you. And thanks for all you do. And happy almost anniversary. A decade feels longer in a good way.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's flown by, but it seems like we've known each other for much longer. For sure. Well, let's get right into it because I have a lot of questions for you, and I know that you've got a lot of great insight into all of this. So, you've become known throughout the industry for your positive mindset, your presence, and your emotional steadiness. So was that something that came naturally to you, or is it something that you learned and refined over time?
I think it's such a great question because we don't really always know consciously what we're taking from our environment. But growing up, I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and my siblings, my parents, just brilliant people, not just book smart wise, but people. Their people smarts were really off the chart. And I was a quiet kid, and I used to just really observe. I just would observe them with each other, talking about things. I was just such a sponge. And even in real estate, I just always learned by observing and seeing what works, what do I think works for me, what is good for me, and what feels right. Yeah. And so that was really it, just watching people in my surroundings that I really respected. And my mom was just like the most amazing person, super charismatic, super smart, and she just did, like, no was not in her vocabulary. So that's where like her optimism really just struck me. And I really tried to inherit that optimism because there's always a solution. It's not just a dead end. There's a way around everything, and that is where creativity comes in, and it's a lot of fun.
I love
to
that.
get around things.
Yeah, when you have that creative mindset around problem solving, where you know that your job is, or your goal is to not necessarily know exactly what the answer is, but to create options for the person who's actually ultimately going to make the decision.
For sure.
And if they have options, and if you can creatively collaborate with them to determine what those options are, it leads to a far more positive experience for everybody.
For sure.
And you do that so brilliantly. And the other thing I love about what you said is that one of the things that I think is infectious, or is what I love about the real estate industry and what's kept me in it for so long, is you've got so many people with different backgrounds, different abilities, different levels of expertise, or different focus of expertise. And everybody's got something different to teach you and to share. And so if you're around the right people in this industry, it's different from any other office environment. There's just such a dynamic group of people that you're around.
So true, because it attracts anyone and everyone. And I always say that not everyone is for everyone, so that's the beauty of our business. And I love New York City. That's the beauty of New York City. It's so diverse, and everything that that people carry can appeal to different people. So you just have to, we'll see how those matches are made, but it's just through sometimes an unconscious connection where you see eye to eye with somebody based on their individuality. Well,
one of your quotes that you often use has come up in other podcasts, and it just seems perfect right here. And your vibe attracts your tribe.
That's right? Everything. Yes,
that's
so
that's
true.
a Sara-ism.
It's one of my favorites.
All right. So, how has emotional intelligence or emotional steadiness changed how you approach negotiation, conflict resolution, or client advocacy?
Yeah. So I think it's really important. Like in my position, I'm at an advantage because I'm not emotionally involved, right? So if an agent comes to me with a situation, I don't have a financial vested interest in the situation. I don't have an emotional attachment to it, but my goal is basically to work in the client's best interest. So then I can guide whoever's coming to me, whether it's a client or not, meaning if it's an agent that's asking for my advice or their client that's asking me directly, I can remain objective. And I think it's really important, like, you know, you talked about the whole pre-med thing. What is so interesting to me is our body systems, you know, and we have two systems, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The parasympathetic is the relaxed, you know, easy breezy mode, but the sympathetic system is really when you're faced with any sort of stress. And the body doesn't understand the difference between physical, mental, or emotional stress. It just responds. So if an agent or anyone is dealing with a high stakes situation in a negotiation or whatever it is, their nervous system is going to activate. And what that does is your heart rate starts to increase. But think about the tiger, the fight or flight situation where they are so focused on, sorry to say I'm a vegan, but their next meal, it's nature, right? They're focused on their next meal and they have to narrow their focus. Their pupils get bigger, the heart rate increases, the adrenaline pumps. But think about that in a practical negotiation. When your vision is narrowed, you're not seeing that creative piece that you were talking about. You're not seeing all those options that you were talking about. You're only seeing what's in front of you and trying to solve the problem, but you're not opening your mind up to a lot of different creative options. So we'll talk about that a little later, how to avoid that or get around that or hack that system. But that's really, you know, just removing the emotion, I think, is really important in any negotiation, and just staying focused on the task at hand and focusing on what you can control.
Yeah, and I love that you're bringing it in from a scientific standpoint, because it makes so much sense, and it's rooted in how we are built as human beings, how we're wired. And sometimes what it takes, and this is why I think a great sales director or a great manager or someone or a great mentor is so crucial, because sometimes if we are self-aware enough to realize that we're in that mode, and we just can't take the blinders off. We are seeing that next meal. That's all we see. And to stop in to your office or to get some advice where it's like, okay, I know that I'm not seeing this clearly. I just need someone who is going to look at this objectively. And we know that there are managers in our business who get emotional incredibly quickly, and they just fuel that tunnel vision. And they keep the person in that mode and focused on that meal when all of these things are happening around them, and they can't see it either. So being that steady voice is so crucial for us as agents when we're in that mode and we just don't know how to get out of it.
It's true. And it's funny because what I observe is sometimes people will come to me with that emotion, with that anger, with that frustration, and they want me to, they want me to take the bait, right? They want me to match that intensity and feel those feelings, and I can feel them, but not necessarily get into the anger or the rage, because that's not my job. My job is to get them out of that state. And I think it's important for people to be aware when they go for counsel or advice, to understand that the person that's there for them is there to actually get them out of that state, not join in on the party, the bad party.
Exactly. And sometimes people, they come in and they say, well, I just want to vent. Okay, that's fine.
Sure.
But you have to walk out of the room with a little bit more perspective, because if you're just venting to me and you're going to go out the same way that you came in, then there's going to be no change in your approach. You're just going to let off some steam, and then you're going to go back out there with that same tunnel vision. So
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. All right. So from your experience coaching agents, what are the most common negotiation or complex client conversations that you've seen?
Complex. I think it's really It's so interesting because, you know, you talk a lot about technical things, right? But the way I see it, it all boils down to that emotion. So that's the foundation, you know. So staying clear and level-headed is the foundation, and not taking the bait to buy into the fear, to buy into the ego, and being right, all of that. That's, I think, a very big mistake that people make. And I think if you can really be mindful of that, that's where I see things go awry. It's not always on the technical piece, because that's easier to do a course correct. But when you've insulted somebody, or you've said something that, you know, you've put someone's cards out on the table when you shouldn't have, you can't put that genie back in the bottle.
Right,
So those
exactly.
are the things that I think, you know, you have to really be mindful of, staying in a strategic mindset of, you know, what is it that we as a team, you and your client, want to accomplish? What is our roadmap, and what is the plan B in case things go or don't go the way we plan?
Yeah. And to go back to your point about saying something that you shouldn't have said, or putting the cards on the table, something that you can't take back, being authentic or being vulnerable in a moment, like being able to understand the power of vulnerability. That is not something, in my experience, that New York City real estate
You're being
agents
very kind.
do
Not
very
something
well.
in my experience. It's everywhere. No, I'm
No,
kidding.
exactly. Yeah, I guess it's not
I'm
just real
teasing
estate.
you. I'm teasing
but
you.
that vulnerability can be so
So
powerful
true.
in making something right.
Yeah.
And sometimes people go so far down the
Yes.
wrong path because they're so afraid of just like saying, okay, that was probably a mistake. I probably shouldn't have done this. How can we clean this up and move forward?
That's so true. And it's funny you say that, Eric, because I love watching, you know, like Netflix and things like that. And what I remember, I watched a few shows, and I said to my husband, this entire series was built on people not being vulnerable with one another. And the resolution came when they were really honest about how they felt
Right.
with each other, and then it totally diffused the situation, and then the relationships were repaired. And
Yeah.
it's just really amazing, like what you said, how powerful that is to have that confidence, to just really be honest with yourself, what you're doing, your piece, and communicating that with somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
And then we'll come back right after this.
Looking to stage a property but on a tight budget and timeline? Stage with Stage and Fold. Stylish, lightweight, foldable, 3D printed cardboard furniture that looks real. Quick delivery and easy assembly. Staging starts at just $199 a month per room, and setup takes less than 30 minutes. Contact us today to stage smarter, sell faster, save thousands with Stage and Fold.
From residential and commercial closings to litigation, Romer DeBoss is your full-service real estate law firm. We blend big firm knowledge with boutique-level attention, delivering outcomes that exceed every expectation. Contact us at romerdeboss.com.
I'm Brian Scott Cohen, one of the top loan originators in the country, and the #1 mortgage originator at Guaranteed Rate Infinity. Guaranteed Rate Infinity arguably has the most advanced tech in the industry. Our completely digital loan process makes it easy and efficient for homeowners, from a 15-minute pre-approval to the digital application and through closing. My team and I would love to help you get into the home of your dreams.
All right, and we are back with Sara Rotter. Now, Sara, negotiation can trigger urgency, fear, defensiveness, ego, and emotional flooding. So what are some ways that you stay grounded, present, and curious in the middle of uncertainty or intensity?
2 words: inhale and exhale. Very, very important to breathe.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost. That actually is a hack to calm yourself and be able to broaden your thinking. So first of all, taking a deep breath and then stepping away sometimes. Just step away when things get intense. Step away from things maybe fill the time with something that's pleasurable, to take your mind away, activate the different parts of your brain, and come back to it with more clarity. And if you're having a hard time with that, talk to your sales director, talk to somebody that you respect, that you know is not going to do what you said, like amp the situation up, but will give you that clarity. And honestly, if you're really stuck, I hate to say it, but go to ChatGPT. Sometimes,
Yeah. Take a picture of yourself and then load it up to ChatGPT. Like, you need a break.
right? No, but sometimes what you could do, like I had a situation where I had something happen to me in business where I'd never had this happen to me before. I got into a bad conflict with somebody that I loved for or still love for years. And I was so emotional, I didn't know how to approach my next communication with them. And I talked to people about it, but I also was curious. I was like, what does AI say about this? What do they think I should, like, how I can approach it? And it was amazing because the emotion was really stripped out of it. And they said,
right.
you're very, and called me on it. It was kind of interesting to see that. So,
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Test it. You'll see it's really, really wild.
That's amazing. You know, it's interesting not in our negotiations, but in negotiations typically. Like my dad is a mediator, and in mediations and in many different negotiations, there will be scheduled breaks so that you don't have to rely on your own ability to take yourself out of a negotiation to say, I need a break. They'll schedule breaks so that if things get a little bit tense or heated, they already know we're 5 minutes from break, let's just take it now. Right. Or they know exactly where they're gonna go, and they can calm themselves down. In our negotiations, everything happens so quickly and in random times. Sometimes, to your point, we just need to take ourselves out, take that deep breath, give ourselves that timeline to say, I'm gonna give myself this time to calm down and to really think about what's going on before I go back into it, before I make that next phone call, before I send that next email.
Exactly. And it's okay to ask for, help from people around you, just to get their perspective. And it doesn't have to be heated. It could be a strategic question. How do you think I should approach this? Do you think I should do this or that? Should I give it time? Like, there are so many different things that you can do. And sometimes it's good to bounce it off of somebody that you respect. Yeah,
I totally agree. Well, I'm going to switch to wellness here for a second, because I know that that's also a huge focus of yours. So, oftentimes we think of wellness as being something that's personal, and we don't really think of it as something that's strategic. So how do you define wellness as a part of a negotiator's professional skill set and leadership identity?
It is the foundation. It's the foundation because you can be physically well, but if you're not in the right state of mind, going back to the focus, you're not going to be as effective. Yeah. So I really think it's like, on the airplane, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. You have to do that for your own well-being first. Like, go to the gym, great, but you should also be going to the gym here and working on your emotional wellness and well-being, because you're just going to be more relatable, more creative, more effective when you're feeling good inside. So I think, like you said, people underestimate the power and the importance of that. Disease is dis-ease, right? So you're not at ease. And when you're not at ease, you're not operating at your optimal potential.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we sometimes believe we take pride in the fact that we can go, or we take pride in the fact that I only need 4 hours of sleep. But what we miss is that we can operate on 4 hours of sleep. We can conduct business, we can write emails, we can answer the phone, but to be truly present and to be creative and to really come up with options, and which is our job, to coach our clients through the transaction that we're hired to coach them through, that requires a level of presence that necessitates that you're well, that you're rested, that you're there to be able to be present.
Exactly, because you set the tone. So if you are not in the right state and you're not focused or you're anxious, people feel that. And
Yeah.
so like imagine going to a doctor and you're asking for their counsel and they're like, well, I don't know. Do you think I should give you penicillin or amoxicillin?
Exactly.
What do you think?
Crying
I'm not
in the
sure.
corner.
Exactly. Like, oh, this is, oh God, 103 fever. That's it. It's over. So.
Exactly. And you know, one of the other things I've been discussing with a couple of people that I coach is this idea that one of the things that makes real estate hard and one of the things that makes real estate not necessarily for everyone is that one of the things that we know is true about our business is there are going to be times when we make a lot of money in a short amount of time with a little effort. There are going to be those times when we're riding a wave. But in a time where we are struggling, where the market is struggling, where our team is struggling, we have to work harder.
Yes.
We have to put more effort in, but we have to do that also very intentionally and keeping well and being well. And so what I think differentiates some of the agents who get through that and some of them that don't is that they get they go down a rabbit hole and they become less well while they're required to work harder. And there becomes this huge gap between how they're feeling and how they're entering into each action that they're taking. And obviously the result is going to be completely different, or it's going to be markedly different if you're entering into it with a mindset that's not positive, or that's not going to get you back to where you need to be.
Absolutely. It's interesting because in 2008, when obviously the financial crisis happened, I was, a sales manager at that time as well. And people would come in and they would say to me, so what am I going to do about the market? What are the conditions? And I sometimes would say, what are you talking about? Just because I wanted to get them out of that
Right, exactly.
frantic, frenetic state.
Yeah.
It's not about denying the reality. It's about doing something about it.
Yeah.
If you're just going to sit there and stress about something, what is that going to do? You have to take reasonable action. And it's not putting your head in the sand. It's about just, taking the right course of action that's going to make you feel okay, and most importantly, be right for your clients.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, I think emotional awareness is an underappreciated negotiation skill for most agents. I mean, for most people, for that matter. So how does noticing tension in the room, impatience in yourself, or anxiety in a client, how does that help an agent communicate or work with their pacing or their tone during a negotiation?
Yeah, because you have to read the room. That's the most important thing. We're in the people business. So your job is to really be able to be in tune to the people that are around you. Yeah. So I always modulate my energy, not necessarily my thoughts and feelings, but just how I deliver them based on who I'm with. So there are some people that appreciate humor. There are some people that just want the facts. They don't want to waste time. Some people who need you to be a bit calmer. Some people need you to be a little bit more animated. So I think it's really important to just read the room. Yeah. And I think, like what you said, people underestimate the power of observing it within yourself, but also observing it from the outside. It could be something as simple as going into an apartment and noticing where somebody walks. What that tells you what's important to them. So the same thing happens in a negotiation. You'll see where they'll go back to, and then you see, oh, wait, they said that this price was important. No, maybe it's a different factor. Yeah. Maybe it's about getting their way or getting like that one piece of furniture. Who knows what that is, but listening and observing are the most important things.
Yeah, that's so true. And the fact that you can pick up those little cues, that you can pick up the little cues and see what they're coming back to, the assumptions that they're making. We oftentimes as agents, we make our own assumptions, and we are so busy making our own assumptions that we're missing the assumptions that our clients are bringing into their conclusion or bringing into their argument. And if we can identify them, that's the path to the other answer. That's where we get off onto another path. And if we can change or help them understand what the assumptions are that they're bringing in, that could lead to a completely new path and a completely different outcome that works for that client. So if we're not present and if we're not catching those things, it can we just miss a lot of the value that we can take out of that. I think that's so true.
I love what you're saying, and you're a big proponent of this. It's like the 2 ears and one mouth. Listen,
Yeah.
listen, and your ears are see it as your GPS system, like the input. And what you're saying is like what you're hearing or what you're seeing. Then stay quiet, observe. And that will help guide you to, like what you said, it may not be down this path that you thought you were going down. Okay, this is what's important here. Let's redirect.
Yeah.
Siri, redirecting.
Redirecting.
Yes.
Well, GPS, exactly.
GPS, exactly.
So can you share a memorable moment or memorable negotiation or a client-agent situation where emotional steadiness, wellness, or mindset clearly influenced the tone, the collaboration, or the outcome?
Sure. I have a really fun story that's the most memorable story. And before you, as the teacher of negotiation, my original teacher, Greg Young, may he rest in peace, he taught negotiation strategies. He was amazing. So when he started out in real estate, he was this junior manager in a small real estate office here in New York City many, many moons ago. And the principal said, "Hey, Young, there's this deal that completely fell apart. It was like multi-millions, which is a huge deal decades ago."
Yeah, sure.
And
Huge deal now.
Yeah, exactly. It is, exactly. But it was huge. And it was like the top agent in the office, and it was a dead deal. So he said, see if you can revive this. And what Greg did, I love this story. He literally called both parties. I think it was the seller and the opposite attorney. And he said he picked up the phone and all he could hear was yelling on the other line. And he didn't say a word. And he said, "I totally understand. I'm confident we can come to a resolution." Did this over and over for days. That was all he said.
Wow.
And the deal was revived. It closed. He was the hero of the office, and he got promoted to head sales manager.
Oh my God.
Because all they wanted to do was bark, hear somebody, so that somebody could hear them, and then okay, let's see if we can make this work. Let's see if we can, I'm confident we can make this work. I understand how you feel, like the empathy and then the optimism. So it's just amazing what just listening and hearing somebody out can do in a tense situation.
Oh, I love that. I love it. And the fact that you don't have to say that much, right? You can let them do the work. They will figure it out if they're just put in a position of wanting a deal as opposed to wanting to be right, as you mentioned earlier, or wanting the other side to come completely to their side. And that's what happens when we talk about like entrenchment or trench warfare is each side digs in where they are. And they're basically like, hey, if you want what I have, you've got to come all the way over to me. And we know that that's not where they started. They were willing to make compromise, but now they're not willing to do anything. And the other side gets into their trench, and all they do is lob bombs back and forth, and no one gains any ground.
Right.
So sometimes it just requires for them to go, okay, what do we do? What is it that we were trying to do here again? Were we actually trying to find some middle ground? Oh, okay. Well, maybe now I can start to make a compromise again, at least one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that people want to be heard. Yeah. I think that's really important.
I love that.
Yeah.
So have you ever witnessed a deal fall apart because someone lacked emotional regulation, presence, or clarity?
That is why I'm employed, is to prevent that from happening. No, and that's really it. Hopefully those things come to me before that happens. But I had a recent situation that I couldn't believe how silly and I'm sorry to say how childish the two parties were. Because I think we are underestimating how tense people are right now.
Oh, yeah.
So people are very quick to just shut off and say, I'm not doing that, forget it, it's over. So it was literally a situation that came about because of tone in email and text. And, me and the other manager, we just had to stay focused on what is in the best interest of the client? What is the best interest of the client? And really just bring both agents back to that. And had we not gotten involved, that would have gone nowhere. And actually, there's a transaction happening as a result.
Amazing.
You know, and I was thinking, wow, it was something so subtle that somebody misread in a text and took it way too far. So those are the things that I think those are things that I'm noticing a bit more, is that the emotion gets too hot too quickly, and we just have to turn the volume down. Turn it down.
100%. And what we're seeing in the market right now, not only in New York, we're seeing it in New York, we're seeing it nationally, is this significant increase in canceled contracts. People walking away from deals.
Yes.
And to your point, there's uncertainty. People are a little bit on edge. There are various reasons for this, but I can't help but wonder how many of those deals could be salvaged with the right agents on both sides of that deal.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing what increased level we're seeing in canceled contracts. So you know, with the right people at the helm, or the right people casting the right demeanor, or the right influence, the right attitude, there are a lot of these deals that probably wouldn't be falling away.
I totally agree with you.
Hi, I'm Evan Greenberg with Langdon Title. I specialize in title insurance across New York, helping real estate attorneys, agents, and brokers close with confidence. I solve problems fast and keep your deals moving. Contact me anytime.
All right, and we are back. Now, Sara, how do all of these emotional, steady negotiation practices that we've been talking about for the last half hour, how do they build reputation capital over time with clients, co-brokers, managers, or even within your own team, our own team in our office, and the culture at our office?
I think it can go both ways. Your reputation is really all about, not about what you do, it's how you make people feel when you're doing what you're doing. So I hear a lot of times, not to talk about anything negative, but when an agent is very anxious, or sometimes, throws their cards out, it can really work against them.
Yeah.
Because in markets where things are tighter, co-brokers, over time, they learn through experience what it's like working with you as an agent. So that, again, can work against you or for you. When they see your name, you want them to think, really smart person, level-headed, no drama, and focused on the solution. And that is going to attract co-brokers your way, clients your way, all of that. And the opposite of that is going to push people away.
100%.
So I think that is where, your reputation is everything. One of my best friends who's in the business, the first time I met her, I was brand new to the New York City market. I didn't know this at the time, but she was bringing her first buyer into an open house that I was hosting. We just talked about this the other week. And the minute she walked in the door, big smile on her face, great eye contact, asked the right questions, was so in tune to her client. And I immediately said, I hope this person submits an offer. I want to do business with her. She's a delight. She's smart. This would be a great pairing, So I think that's really important. And again, it can work the other way. If they're walking in aggressive or dismissive and, or whatever it is, you just want to put your best foot forward in every way because your reputation precedes you.
Oh, I love that so much. The one thing I think that people don't especially people who don't build trust well, the one thing that I don't think they understand about trust, using your example of her walking into that open house, when you build trust well, you as a listing agent or you on that listing side of that deal, you have the ear of your client. They're going to ask you what you would do if. True. So if it comes down to 2 or 3 offers that are even somewhat close in price and terms, the trusted agent is going to be a part of the decision on that deal.
For sure.
And a lot of agents that don't build trust well or dismiss trust as such a key or important part of a negotiation, they don't realize that the interactions that they're having with that person are ultimately going to determine whether their client is successful in purchasing that home.
I totally agree. You know, if let's say like in your example, and we've seen this, top brokers in our industry for a co-op offer letter will put in 2 sentences. This is the offer. They want to close ASAP. Yeah. Co-op, you're not really engendering trust with me that you're going to have all of your paperwork together and all of the documents in order, because it's a very long process in the co-op purchasing application process. So everything you do is a reflection of how an agent is going to see the future. Yeah. You know, the present is the future.
Exactly. The best predictor of future behavior is past and present behavior, right? Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Perfect answer.
I love it.
You don't need me here. You just answer those questions yourself.
I love it. This brings out the best in me. All right. So one last question before we get to one of my favorite parts of the podcast, which is the lightning round. What daily or weekly practices would you recommend to any agent who wants to improve presence, emotional clarity, resilience, and negotiation stamina? And what's one easy place to begin?
I think it's twofold. There's the emotional aspect, and then there's the mental aspect. So I think like the physical well-being, wellness, clarity, it depends on what works for the person. I do think meditation is very helpful. Deep breathing, whatever it is for you. That could be listening to music. Meditation can be jogging. Some kind of motion to get you out of your brain into your body. And not when I say out of your brain, out of that repetitive, stressful side of the brain. So that I think is very important. Like I said, it's different for everybody, but those are very practical things that you can do. Just be aware of like what makes me happy. What are things that I can do to just increase my attention span, get me out of that fight or flight. Sleep is so important. People underestimate how important that is. So that is that. But in terms of sharpening skills, take your courses.
Yes, of course.
Listen to this podcast, but really brush up on your skills. And I mean it. You know, when I first got into this business and to this very day, I am a forever student of real estate and of life, you know, so you always want to improve your skills, improve your abilities, whatever it is that you think you're not great at. Pursue that, run toward it, not away from it. And then also really listen to the people around you, agents in your office, your managers. Listen to the stories of how people got through certain circumstances and say, okay, I like that strategy. I'm going to employ that. I'm going to use that if that ever comes up. So build your bank of knowledge, experience through other people, but most importantly, put the oxygen mask on yourself to make sure that you're level-headed and clear-minded.
I think we might just have to title this episode, Put Your Oxygen Mask On.
Yes, put that oxygen mask. I'll tell you just a really quick, funny story about an agent, and we laugh about this story to this day. So he was really stressed. He had to catch a flight, and he was waiting on something for a lease. And he was literally pacing in front of my office, back and forth, back and forth. And I said, come in, sit down. I said, close your eyes. He opened them up and he said, you're weird. And it was so funny because I said, no, just listen and close your eyes. He said, okay. And then I said, just take a deep breath. And then he opens his eyes and he said, Sara, I don't have time to breathe, and left my office. It was great. P.S. Many years later, he now a meditator. And I have agents that have told me that meditation doesn't always help you in the moment, you know, that you're meditating, but it helps you later when you need it. You know, so like, you know, I have an agent that had a terrible temper many, many moons ago. He started meditating, and I asked him that. I said, how does that help you? He said, I don't really feel it, but I feel it when my temperature starts to rise. I'm about to, you know, have, you know, an explosion, and I lean on it then. And I haven't seen a temper tantrum from this person in 20 years, and I'm really proud of him.
That's
for that.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, when you establish habits, when you need that habit to show up, it shows up because your body is regulated or used to understanding that this is happening to me. I know what the solution is, or I know how I can combat this or counteract this or calm this down. And you don't have to dredge up some courage or drive or something from somewhere down deep inside of you. It's there on the surface because you've made it a habit.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. And, you know, people don't realize it, but like anyone that has a spiritual practice or a religious practice, that's also a habit. So like, as you're talking, I'm thinking about like, you know, sometimes I'll read a sentence that is a spiritual sentence that brings me back to my center. You know, so if you're religious, if it's a passage from whatever scripture you like, read that. Whatever it is for you. Like we talked about, everyone is different.
Yeah.
So read or do whatever it is that brings you back to your center and try to make more of a habit of it, doing it regularly.
Yeah, I one of the things that I love to do is I love positive affirmations. I love listening to them. I love having them in my ear. I love starting my day with them. And it's not, you know, sometimes it feels cheesy because you're just listening to this sequence of positive thoughts, or you're watching, you know, this dramatic skyline, and then there's somebody speaking a voiceover over the top of it, and it can feel a little bit like, okay, great, how much time do I have, right?
Yeah.
But the fact is that when I need a positive affirmation, when I have a moment where I'm like, oh my God, that like bad phone call, or I just got a piece of bad news, the thing that comes into my mind is not a negative thought. The thing that comes into my mind is one of those thoughts that I listen to in those positive affirmations. I'm strong. I can do this. Right? I am absolutely capable to make this work. Right? Those are the things that come up, and it's only because that's what my body is hearing. That's what my body is. That's the habit that my body, or that my mind is used to filling in those spaces.
That's amazing. And you know what's so interesting is scientifically or physically, if let's say you say to yourself, if you hold your arm up and you say something like, I am strong, you can resist it. But when you have a negative thought, your muscles actually are not as strong. Gosh. Try it with have your kids try it on you. It's amazing when you see that happen in real life. Like, wow, you see your body is not as strong when you're thinking negative thoughts. So gratitude is, but not thinking, oh, I'm grateful for, immersing yourself in just one thing you're grateful for and really feeling it can get you out of that negative spin. And I just want to say one more thing. My own mentor, Mike Staver, who I love so much, I know you know him. Yeah. What he says to me, and I think that this is the most important thing, especially in today's world, is what your eyes see and what your ear hears, your ears hear, is food for your brain.
Yeah.
So it's really important to be selective about what you're watching, what you're listening to, and just like surrounding yourself with positive things, because it basically takes at least 3 to 5 positive things to get away from something negative that you saw or heard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get away from that. And with the news cycles and clickbait and all of that, it can really take you off course. Yeah. So I know we're getting into a bigger discussion, but the course could be a negotiation, or it could just be anything in life.
Yeah. I 100% agree. It's great advice no matter what you're doing, no matter who you're interacting with. Well, now we're going to move on to the lightning round. All right. So I love this part. And there are certain things about your background that I didn't know about that I want the audience to know. But first, we have to cue our theme music. All right. We're still working on a budget for music. All right. So these are just ways for our audience to get to know you better. Things that, you're on a lot of podcasts, you're in front of a lot of audiences, but oftentimes they don't get to know this side of you. Sure. So I'm excited for this. So my first question is, you completed a post-baccalaureate pre-med program at Harvard, as we mentioned. So what's harder, organic chemistry or persuading a seller to price their home correctly?
Persuading a seller, of course. Organic chemistry was that, believe it or not, I sound like a geek. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, really?
It's really fun. It was really fun. The professor actually showed us, he said, this is the molecular structure of a hangover. And then he showed us what to take for, it was really fun. No, but for sure.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you also, another amazing thing about you is you co-founded Helping Hands, and 1 year helped the program collect over 14,000 coats for people who need them. So tell us more about Helping Hands and that program.
Yeah, so, I've always been a big proponent giving back, especially because we facilitate people getting homes, selling homes, doing those things, which is such an important process. But we earn money from that, and I think it's really important for us to give back, and it's easy to write a check. But what Helping Hands is all about, and you've participated many, many, many times that we're very grateful for, we put our hands and hearts to work with Helping Hands, and it's really about volunteer-based activities to help the communities that we serve. So it could be clean. I remember, didn't we clean the schools together, painted and cleaned up
amazing.
schools,
Fun,
collected coats. We've done blood drives. We've done so many things, but we're very proud of the fact that we're not just writing checks, which we do, which is great, but our time is our commodity as real estate agents, because we don't get a paycheck. We're paid for our time and effort. So when we volunteer that, I think it's most meaningful.
Oh, I love it. And thank you for the work that you do and for founding Helping Hands. It's really a lot of fun for us as agents. And it gives us an opportunity, it provides us an opportunity to do what many of us want to do anyway, but don't necessarily have the organization to do it. And for BHS and Halstead to begin with, to provide that opportunity for agents, or that way to give back, is really, really special.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree.
So you also have some incredible hobbies, this is amazing. I want to focus on two of your hobbies, racing sports cars and travel. So in an ideal world, what car are you in? And where in the world are you racing it?
Okay, so here's the dream. So I've been a German car owner and enthusiast my entire life, but no one does it better than the Italians. So they just came out with the new Testarossa, which is unbelievable. So I'm racing the Testarossa somewhere in Italy, and it will just say in Florence, like the back roads of Florence.
Not in the city, winding in the streets on the cobblestone.
Outside of Florence. Why can't I think of what is the area right next to Florence? That is the wine region. Hello. Thank you, Tuscany.
Lena,
Tuscany.
for the win.
Thank you, Tuscany. Yeah.
I'm out of my element. You get me out of my element. I know what I'm talking about when we talk about negotiations. You won't talk about the wine region of France or of Italy. I'm out. All right. So amazing. It's fantastic. So I know you're also a certified coach, an instructor in New York State, as well as a leading real estate companies of the world. Leading RE instructor. So what is your favorite subject to coach or train on?
It's kind of what we talked about today, is energy management. So that was what I talked about for the leading real estate companies of the world. There was a program that gathered managers and leaders from around the country with Mike Staver at the helm. And he brought me in to speak about energy management and basically what to do to prevent burnout. And the reason why I talked about it was because I suffered tremendously from burnout by saying yes, 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 yes all the time. And then I had this thing called adrenal fatigue, which some doctors say it doesn't exist, but it absolutely does. When I talked about the adrenaline, when you talked about it too, when you're going at 10 all the time, your adrenal glands start to get deficient and you can't rise to the occasion and you just have fatigue all the time. And it's a terrible feeling, and you have to really take care of yourself and just taking care of yourself is sometimes saying no to things and not saying yes to it all and having better boundaries. But the most interesting thing about doing that class was I was amazed. We'd all go to dinner after, and it would be about 60 people. And I'd have managers pulling me aside saying, I never knew that there was such thing. I thought it was just me, which was, to me, the most meaningful thing in the world, to shed light about something that actually happens and exists, and to make people feel like it's not just them, and that there are things that you can do to prevent that.
Oh, that's great. I love that answer.
Oh,
it's wonderful.
thank you.
I want to take this course.
Oh, you would love it.
Yeah.
You would love it.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a great course. Not mine, but the course, the full course is amazing.
All right. Well, thank you, Sara. It's been such a pleasure. We could talk for hours,
Yes.
and often in our office we do.
Yes, we
But
do.
can you tell our audience where they can find you? I mean, I know that you're working internally for BHS, but you have so many wonderful things to contribute to the industry. So where can anyone and everyone out
You
there
guys
find
can
you?
email me. My email is on the BHS website. I'm on LinkedIn. My social media account is private, but if you're lucky, maybe I'll let you in. You'll have to
Knock hard.
negotiate your way
Yes,
in.
exactly. Ask the right question.
Exactly.
Somewhere in this
Listen.
episode, we gave you a clue. And if you
They'll
can
be
fish
like,
it out-
Ferrari Testarossa is the password.
I love it. Well, thank you, Sara.
Thank you. I
appreciate
love
it.
you, and I love this. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right. So I'm going to give our key takeaways here. And there's so much gold to take away from what Sara brings to every interaction, every meeting, presentation, or coaching. I can tell you that I've witnessed it and I've been there firsthand for a decade. So here are a few things that we can take away from our conversation today. When we negotiate consistently from a place of clarity, emotional stability, and presence, we earn a reputation for being composed, trustworthy, thoughtful, collaborative, and capable. Clients want to work with you again. Co-brokers, as we talked about, want to work with you again. Negotiations feel smoother, repeat business becomes easier, and your personal confidence grows because you're not managing chaos through stress. You're leading the process with intention and emotional steadiness. So here are 3 core advantages of negotiation wellness and mindset. Number 1, emotional regulation as a negotiation advantage. When you manage your internal state during a tense or uncertain moment, you protect cooperation, you reduce conflict, and maintain clarity. This gives you more strategic room to negotiate and opens the door to integrative outcomes instead of defensive reactions, positional bargaining, or that fixed pie mentality. Number 2, wellness fuels cognitive stamina and patience. And when you're rested, balanced, and emotionally centered, you think more clearly, you stay curious longer, you solve problems more creatively, and sustain performance over a long or complex deal. And number 3, mindset is emotional leadership. Your state sets your tone. Your calm stabilizes the room. Your confidence gives clients psychological safety. The emotional environment you create directly impacts decision-making, trust, collaboration, and value creation. And as we know, value creation is at the heart of collaborative negotiation. This is a hidden competitive advantage in real estate. Better mindset creates better presence. Better presence creates better negotiation outcomes. Better outcomes lead to deeper trust, more referrals, stronger relationships, and higher self-confidence. And that's Shear Line for today, everyone. As a reminder, you can support this show by following us, subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just go to getmorenetwork.com, and there you can check out all of the amazing shows on the More Network, as well as past episodes of Shear Line. You can find me all over Instagram at archway.partners, as well as on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Eric the Expert. You can contact the Excelsior team at BHS by going to bhsusa.com, and you can connect with my coaching company, Archway Partners Coaching, by visiting archwaypartnersinc.com to learn more about our brand new, one-of-a-kind Archway Partners Mighty Networks platform. It's a growing community of agents with access to weekly small group coaching, motivation, skill building, videos, coaching, exercises and negotiation, storytelling, confidence, and so much more. We're offering 30 days free, so take advantage of that on my website, archwaypartnersinc.com, and be sure as a gift to give it to any agent that you know this holiday season. And remember, everyone, there's a key for every lock, but it's the right combination of grooves, cuts, and teeth that lift the pins and create the shear line. Until next time, keep turning curiosity into connection, mystery into mastery, and keep unlocking what's possible. We'll see you next time, everybody.